if it can be defined, it can be tested. So since teacher can be defined, teaching material can be defined, so it can be tested. And in fact, our system is, with reference to evaluation, our system is only student-centric. Means, as I have mentioned in the beginning, when we say evaluation, when we say test, so the first person comes to our mind is the poor student. But they say that to maintain quality, every component of the system, education system or any system, here our focus is, our discussion is on evaluation, education system. So to maintain quality of any system, all the elements of that system should be tested from time to time, evaluated from time to time, to identify the strengths. First comes the strengths. We should identify the strengths and the weaknesses. Weaknesses can be remedial exercises or efforts, reinforcements can be given to improve or convert the weaknesses among strengths. So that's why this today's talk is a little bit different. But the reference point shall remain the same. We are going to talk, okay, how to evaluate, teacher, assess, and simply the performance of a teacher, and how to assess and evaluate the quality of the teaching material, relevance of the teaching material, effectiveness of both. So there may be many reference points, but some or other reference points must be there to undergo any kind of assessment and evaluation. Because this definition of evaluation itself says that it is a process to determine the extent of achievement of predetermined objectives. Evaluation is the process of determining the extent to which predetermined objectives are achieved, and the same predetermined objectives become reference points against which any kind of evaluation, including what we do in our business, our occupation, evaluation of students, evaluation of teachers, evaluation of teaching methods or ways of teaching, ways and means of teaching. The textbooks should be evaluated, and they are evaluated. We in CIIL, we have some kind of experience and expertise and resources. We have evaluated so many textbooks. To name some, I can tell you, Mahatma Gandhi Institute is in Mauritius, and we have a memorandum of understanding with that institution. They send from time to time Indian language, because Indian languages are taught there. Hindi is taught, Tamil is taught, I don't know, maybe Malayalam also, Gujarati is taught. So those textbooks. So anything which can be defined can be tested. No quality can be assured where is no proper evaluation. And this talk is going to be different, because here we are going to discuss how to assess and evaluate teacher or teaching process, effectiveness of teaching, and the teaching material. So this is what I have said. In other words, it is assessment of teachers and teaching materials with reference to the taxonomy of educational objectives. I was telling that any reference point may be there, but the thing is that there must be a reference point. For example, you see, teachers, Textbook, when we say teaching material, so it includes so many things. You know very well, nowadays all the slides are teaching materials, all the apparatuses are teaching materials, teaching aids, they say. But in the first instance, it is textbook. So it can be, just now our resource person, Dr. Rakesh was talking about land and culture, land and living conditions. We know in nutshell, we have in our general frame of reference, I don't know when we are going to discuss that, but in our general frame of reference, when we talk about literature, there is a very important and vital component that is known as life and living conditions. So a teaching material, a textbook, can be evaluated with reference to the life and living conditions of the students for whom it is prescribed. For example, let me say Bihar, Nepal, our neighboring country, it is a sovereign country. Bihar, Nepal, full northeast, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Delhi, Chhattisgarh. We are landlocked states. Suppose a textbook is designed for our students, and there a chapter is on the water body. But if it is an ocean or a bay, then it is not suitability point of view, it is not suitable, because many years may go or many chapters will require, many classes will require to make our boys, poor boys and girls to visualize what ocean is, what a sea is, right? Because not only they, I have not seen a sea unless I came to Karnataka, let me tell you. So this is, so the point is that anything which can be defined can be evaluated. To maintain the quality, evaluation is a must. And there must be some or other reference point. There may be many reference points. Here, in our context, in our situation, in our organization, we take taxonomy of educational objectives as an immediate reference point to evaluate all kind of activities. The first day we have discussed pertaining to the field of evaluation, education, not evaluation. So this is the same diagram. Again, I am repeating. It can produce an overall idea of education system, that needs are first identified. Based on the needs, policies are designed. Based on the policies, goals are fixed. Based on the goals, curriculums are designed. Based on the curriculums, syllabi is produced or prepared. Based on the instructional objectives stated in the syllabus, textbooks are prepared, or it should be prepared. Based on the instructional objectives, I am using two different terms. You see, based on the educational objectives stated in the syllabus, textbooks should be designed. And based on the instructional objectives, what are these instructional objectives, educational objectives? I am sure many of you know that, but the first day I mentioned that we are not going to tell you anything new, because we both belong to the same field, that is education. You have been teaching for 20, 30, 10, 15 years. We have been training for the 10, 12 years. But the thing is, we can provide you a new viewpoint to see the already known things in a different context. So syllabus, based on the educational objectives stated in the syllabus, textbooks should be designed, and based on the instructional objectives stated in the textbook, teaching should take place. And if teaching will be there, then we will be learning, and we have to go for evaluation based on the results, outcomes of the evaluation. What a conscious society, conscious institution, conscious person should do is he sees it should reinvent its needs, and it should be a continuous cycle. I think somebody will ask, but no one asked it. And that day, one very good question was there, and I was not prepared for. I was taken aback. Someone asked that, what are the things you want to be included in the taxonomy that are not covered at present? So I thought it, I reflected on that. My dear friends, let me say that societal needs, dimensions of societal needs should be included in the structure of taxonomy, because in different ways, in different words, in different senses, they are there. But it should be a clear-cut demarcation and enlisting that these are the societal needs. Because why we said that, I am just going to the earlier topic, but things are associated with each other. I will just come back. That day I said that facilitating all-round growth in learners' personality is the ultimate objective of education. Then one question remains, that what is the use of that well-grown all-round growth society to serve societal needs? We produce a doctor, we produce an engineer to make bridges and roads and buildings, to treat diseases, to serve mankind or serve the society. So societal needs aspect with its clear-cut dimensions, listings should be added to the taxonomy of educational objectives. And let me share this information that we have already done it in our National Testing Service. Dr. Pankaj Dwivedi Sahab is the editor of that document. It is known as Concept-Based Continuum of Graded Syllabus. There we have, our base is that taxonomy is the base, because that is what for all kind of educational activities are undertaken. But there we have tried our best to fulfill this demand or fill this gap. There we have added the dimensions of societal needs. And let me say you in very brief, productivity, there are 4 societal needs identified so far. It is not a all-exhausting list. Next generation may add, but at present we have identified 4 societal needs. Number 1 is productivity. Number 2nd is integrity. Third one is modernity. And the final is cultivating spirituality. And this is not the outcome of our imagination. It is there in your education documents. That day we discussed now new education policy, so-called new or national education policy 1986, national curriculum framework 2005, and the present, these things are there. We have just searched and derived and listed. And one more thing I will say, that all-round growth, the very concept of all-round growth provoked our systems, especially CBSE, to introduce continuous and comprehensive evaluation. But again, that practice was abundant, and again we came back to the old model of this mastery, where only cognitive domain is taken care of. Within that, most of the emphasis is on knowledge, understanding, and what is that? Application. So anyway, so this is what we're going to talk about, that how to assess and evaluate teachers' performance, let us speak in clear terms, and the teaching material, because teaching materials are beyond the control of the teachers. If they are prepared somewhere, they are sent by parcel, introduced to us, and we are forced to implement that. So quality of teaching, teachers' performance is greatly influenced by the quality of teaching material on which he or she don't have any control. So these things, that's why our designers of this your present workshop keeping in view all kind of things and balancing the discussion they have, because on the thing we don't have any control, but we are controlled by that. For that, we should not be blamed. So teachers should not be blamed for the quality of the, what is that? Teaching material. Although it influences quality of his or her teaching. That is the irony of the thing. So this we have to keep in mind. Now, when we go back to assessment and the topic teacher and teaching material. So two aspects or two parts of our discussion are fixed here in the beginning itself, that how to assess and evaluate a teacher and how to assess and evaluate a teaching material. One common thing is that taxonomy of educational objectives and the categories stated in that shall remain the common reference point for both kind of assessments and evaluations. Teachers' performance should also, we are going to propose. I have said that there can be many more reference points, but here we are going to rely upon 6 hour discussion on taxonomy of educational objectives, and the same teaching material should also be evaluated with reference to, I have said in beginning, the educational objectives stated in the syllabus based on those educational objectives. Teaching materials are claimed to be developed, and we have to check the claims. Assessments means reasserting the claims. So the claims made by the designers, by the people who were involved, is right or wrong. If it is right, to what extent it is right, and if it is wrong, then why it is wrong, and what kind of remedial procedures should be followed to make those wrong things right. So this should be the objective of evaluation. Blaming someone is not the objective of evaluation. Identifying strengths and weaknesses in a justifiable and scientific manner with some or reference point, well established, predetermined reference point, so that strength should be increased and weaknesses should be decreased. So in other words, it is assessment of teachers and teaching materials with reference to taxonomy of educational objectives. Because the educational objectives stated in the syllabi are listed in the same taxonomical terms. Instructional objectives, there are 2 ways to state instructional objectives. One is to be stated in taxonomical terms, but the more refined way is to state the instructional, they say that instructional objectives should be stated in observable behavioral terms. Observable behavioral terms. We will discuss later. So this is the basic difference between educational objectives and instructional objectives, that the majority of the experts say, although they admit that both can be stated, means educational objectives and instructional objectives can be stated in taxonomical terms. There is no problem. But better way of stating instructional, advanced way of stating instructional objectives is to state in observable behavioral terms, because you have to evaluate unless anything is not observable, you cannot be, what is that? Evaluate. You see, in the suppose in a dark night, someone asks, how is the weather? And is it going to rain? How can you say you cannot see the sky, whether clouds are there or not, the stars are there or not? So, to evaluate, to assess, to measure something, the precondition is it must be revealed, it should be observed first, then only it can be assessed or evaluated. So, instructional objectives, because after instruction, even during instruction, we go for continuous evaluation. What is continuous evaluation? That is, during teaching, You ask questions. We observe the behavior of students, who is behaving like, who is receiving, who is responding, and evaluation goes on. So not after instruction, even during instruction, assessment and evaluation takes place. Therefore, it must be, and how you can decide that it is going in a right way, unless some predetermined list is there. Against that only you can decide. So therefore, they suggested that instructional objectives, it is better to define them in observable behavioral terms. So now two things we have to on our dissection table to dissect. One is the teacher. Pardon me, just I am talking in a letter, and I am also included in your community now. So we can laugh on ourselves. There is no, don't laugh on others. We can laugh on ourselves. That is what true humor is. So okay, so teachers and teaching materials. Now again, go for breakup, because the first day I said that to do anything in a scientific manner, you have to go for its breakups. First, identify, classify, categorize its major, minor, sub, and even micro components. Then only things can be seen in totality. And unless you see, how can you evaluate? Without seeing, you cannot assess or evaluate. So break up. So to my point of view, now I always say that just it is sharing. I can give you some points, some ideas, some way to see the things, some point of views, and it is not ever ending, not a closed list. You can increase, think it over and increase. Just I have given some points from my side that when we say teacher, then two things come immediately. One is personality, including the appearance. They say that teachers must be dressed in moderate way. You might have learned in B.Ed, might have listened in different. I know that you have 21-day orientation classes. We have participated. Means we have undertaken some 3-4 days. We were given, and we have inserted our own this activity. So you might have. You are aware that this is a fact that they say that teachers must come inside the classroom, not inside the classroom. Every time he should. Boy can meet you in the streets. So moderately dressed. Although it is a debatable subject, but for debate we will not go. What is general perception we will talk about. So personality, appearance. In total, one word we can use term the attitude of a teacher, and teaching techniques. You say a teacher may not be moderately dressed, or maybe put our all kind of ancient saints, rishis, mahatmas. Do you think that they were moderately dressed? One bishti, we say in Hindi, colloquial Hindi, bishti means a piece of kopina, piece of cloth. And one munja dori, munja is a grass, weed, we can say. A munja dori was tied in their waist, and a piece of cloth was just hanging, you can say, just to cover the private parts. Can you say that they were moderately dressed? No. But see their teachings. So, but that is also a point of consideration. So, two things when we say teacher: personality, appearance, one joint term maybe, attitudes of a teacher, and the second thing is teaching techniques. And when we come to the other part, teaching materials, so basically textbooks are known as teaching materials, and as per the earlier only blackboard was there, even that was also not there. Books were also not there. Things were memorized and passed to generation. That's why Vedas are known as Shrutis. Just to listen, but there were, perhaps writing system was not introduced. Our linguists may explain in a better way. So in Smriti, you have to memorize the things. But according to progression of technology and advancement in our lives, so many things are included in the teaching material. Basic thing is textbook, then teaching aids, means actual objects. I have seen a teacher brought brinjal and all kinds of vegetables because there was a poem on vegetables. So he used to bring, especially on Saturdays. So actual objects, models, replica of the actual objects, pictures, charts and diagrams, instruments and devices. And during this pandemic, these instruments and devices became the lifeline, because without this we cannot imagine about any class, conducting any class or any kind of teaching learning activity. So that's why I made it clear that use of ICT in teaching. You have a separate class on that. So these things come into our focus when we say assessing and evaluating teacher and teaching materials. Teaching materials, mainly textbooks, should be evaluated in the light of the educational objectives stated in the syllabus. That this I have already said. Teaching, till now I have tried my best to divide one thick line between teacher and teaching, but as you know very well, and again appearance and technique, but you know very well that when discussion will be in the progress, they will mix together, and it should be. It should not be segregated like this, for the sake of understanding. So there will be overlapping categories and qualities also that you have to keep in mind. So teaching materials, mainly textbooks, should be evaluated in the light of educational objectives stated in the syllabus. And you know very well that educational objectives stated in the syllabus are nothing but the educational objectives listed in the taxonomy. Listed in the taxonomy of educational objectives. Whether it is a cognitive behavior related or attitude related or performance related, that is psychomotor, any kind of educational objectives, we don't have other way to state, and if you are doing in different way, it is advisable to dictate, list it in the taxonomical terms, because this is a pakka. You see, to tie a boat, if a tree is there, that is best. And if a tree is there, a concrete pole is there, why should we push a bamboo in the wetland and tie our boat? Maybe we go to home, come next day, boat will go to the ocean. So if taxonomical objective is there, Sur Das, famous Hindi poet, Krishna Bhakta, he has said that if cow is there, why to go and milk the goat? So if cow is there, taxonomy of educational objective, well designed, well devised, well improved, document is there, reference point is there. So we should use that. Why to go and search for other reference points? So educational objectives are stated in syllabus, and educational objectives stated in syllabus are the same educational objectives stated in the taxonomy. That's why I said that teaching material means textbook. We are going to propose here that it should be evaluated in the light of the objectives stated in the taxonomy. And teaching should be evaluated with reference to the instructional objectives stated in the textbook. If a textbook, a chapter, and chapter-wise instructional objectives are there, and if you can consolidate them, it may become the common instructional objective of the whole textbook. That is a different thing. But chapter-wise, if it is not there, a teacher should a teacher should make up his or her mind in terms of instructional objectives before entering a class. That today, in 50 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever time it is, I will make them to clearly identify phrases from sayings. I don't know, in Malayalam, sayings and phrases. In Hindi, there is clear-cut differences, distinction between muhavre and lokoktiyan, or maybe nouns in adjectives, maybe verbs in nouns. So today I will make them able to clearly, in a jumble from a jumble stock of words, they will be able to clearly pick out nouns and verbs. This is what they say is a statement of instructional objectives in observable behavioral terms. It can be seen, it can be shown again and again that boy number 1, Biresh Kumar, has done this many, correctly he has selected this many, listed this many nouns and this many verbs, this many times he has committed mistakes. So this is what they said is instructional objectives should be stated in observable behavioral terms. This is what I said, an ideal textbook must contain instructional objectives of every exercise, chapter, lesson listed either in the beginning of the chapter or at the end. It is better that it should be at both the points, in the beginning also, at the end also. This is what this NCERT people are doing. That day I told you they are designing some e-learning material for class 8th literature textbook. So twice it is stated, in the beginning also and at the end also. And this is what I said, that educational objectives are stated in taxonomical terms such as knowledge, understanding, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, etc. Educational objectives are fixed for the whole course of study. There's some comparing things I have tried to give, because unless you contrastive studies are one very effective way to understand the things. Instructional objectives are stated in observable behavioral terms. So many times I have repeated. Instructional objectives are decided for each chapter or each period. Educational objectives are decided for the whole course. Instructional objectives can be revised and modified by the teacher. It is in the hands of the teacher, not to fix, but revise as per the requirement of his or her situations. Revision and modification of educational objectives are beyond the purview of a teacher. Teacher cannot. Again, the textbook committee will sit. They can revise the educational objectives. Teachers cannot. But teachers cannot decide, because textbooks are prepared somewhere else, but they can modify that as per the need and requirement of their job, the particular day, particular class. Both are predetermined in nature. Examples of stated these objectives, educational objectives. You see, I have mentioned that there are experts who say that even instructional objectives too can be defined in taxonomical terms. Another group says that it is true, it can be, but it is better that if it is defined in observable behavioral terms. It's more minute. But so we think both the ways. After undergoing the course, that's why I have used the term course. The students shall be able to know the nature, structure, and content and objectives of this discipline. And let me tell one thing, in the first class, your officer was telling that every language teacher should know about the taxonomy. Let me add that not only language teacher, every teacher, irrespective of his or her discipline and subject, should know and understand and apply the category is given in the taxonomy, because it was not devised for a particular discipline. It was devised keeping in mind the process of learning of human beings as such. So it is, they have tried their best to that it should be what is that relevant to, it should cover all kinds of disciplines or subjects, science, arts, commerce, irrespective of the dividing lines. So that's why I say that after undergoing this course, the students shall be able to know the nature, structure, and content and objectives of this discipline. Understand the relationship between different components of this course. Here you should add the students. Near the students, we should add the teachers. Actually, if it is defined in educational objectives stated in the syllabus are not for the students, they are for the teachers. Even the instructional objectives, earlier it was believed that instructional objectives are also for the teachers only, but nowadays they say that no, it should be shared with the students also. Because they have to fulfill all those objectives, no? So it should be shared with the students also. So anyway, so after undergoing this course, here I have designed from because this is so predominant. Student-centric activities are so predominant. It has preoccupied our minds. Like no, even many women speaker will also speak, and when it comes for an example, she will take a boy, not a girl. So this is what mental hegemony is. So anyway, you can understand it both the ways. Teachers should also know, as well as the students should also know. Know the nature, structure, and contents and objectives of this discipline. Understand the relationship between different components of this course. Apply the theories and principles, rules and provisions of this course in real life situations, at least in examination hall, in testing conditions. Analyze the problems and gray areas pertaining to this course, so and on and so forth. How to write instructional objectives in observable behavioral terms. You see, after studying the chapter, the students shall be able to, from grammar, because in our humanities, I think grammar is a science now. It is a science. This is science. It is very much relatively more organized. So, putting examples from grammar will be more suitable, I think. So, from grammar, identify and separate nouns from pronouns. This is what I have just said. Verbs from adverbs, and both from the adjectives, something like that. So identify and separate. So to identify, they will put their finger. You are the teachers, practicing teachers. You can see how a kid identifies without putting finger. Putting finger is identification. Again, I will give a harsh example. I am infamous for that. In criminal jurisprudence, there is a process of identification, because the culprit, the first thing the culprit and his advocate will do is they will deny the charges. No, I was not there. Hey, your name is Vires. There are many Vires Kumars. You see, so for that victim, if he is alive, or the eyewitness is given a chance to identify, and some people are arrested, put behind the bars on suspicions. Maybe a similarity in name, similarity in appearance. Mahabharata, famous anecdote is there that Drona was told by Yudhishthira that Ashwathama was an elephant, and he left the weapons, and ultimately he was killed. So by any basis, some suspects are arrested, put behind bar, and one fixed day, under supervision and in the presence of jailer and all kind of authorities, victim or eyewitness They are brought inside the jail and they are lined up, all the suspects. And the process of identification from far see, or he cannot say that he was there. He has beaten me, or he has whatever the charge is. They have to move near and put their finger on his chest. Otherwise, from the far, you just, what is that? Like a gun, you pointed your finger. But whom you are telling, who knows? So you have to walk nearer to the person, put your finger on his chest or her chest. So this is, so putting finger is identification. And this is observable. Everybody, that's why all the lawyers are both the party and witnesses, jailer, maybe a doctor, I don't know, I'm not sure. But people are made to be present there to see, observe that on whose chest the witness has kept his or her finger. This is what they say, observable behavior. So identify and separate nouns from pronouns, verbs from adverbs, and both from the adjectives. Convert a masculine word into feminine and vice versa. By converting, you can see. After converting, you can see, you can show it. If it, in our places, guardians will, earlier, now they have become civilized. Guardians will come with big, what is that, sticks. Hey, you have not given marks to, he has performed well in the examination, he said. Then you can show him that you see this is the copybook of your word and what he has done. Observable behavior. So convert masculine words into feminine, vice versa. Search synonyms and antonyms for a given word. Make sentences by using the given words. Break combined words as per the Sandhi rules. And you can see the gradual progression of skills. Identification is knowledge. Converting is somehow. Application part is involved. Searching synonyms, understanding is involved. And make sentences, again, application part is involved. Combine and break words. This is pure application. And if you see that way, I have said that grammar questions are usually application questions. But in application, all previous skills and abilities are contributing. Application cannot have in isolation. For that, some knowledge is needed, some level of understanding is required. They both contribute to make your people able to perform or apply the rules into, what is that? Action. So this is the way to write instructional objectives in observable behavioral terms. And if some committee comes, a person is interested with the task to evaluate a teacher, they can come and see in the backside of classroom. Usually it was happening earlier. Dipti was famous and havoc among teachers and students. If teacher is in havoc, that it will bring the students also in havoc. So they used to come and sit behind the class, behind the last bench and observe. So that was all related to the all kind of attitude and appearance and technique parts. But that cannot play a major role to evaluate the teaching or outcome of teachings. The most scientific way is to go and see what were the instructional objectives identified and listed in all the chapters. You can consolidate them, and in that reference only performance of a teacher can be evaluated. And in other words, the performance of students is the reflection of the performance of the teacher, because they know what you tell, they understand what you make them understand, they apply what you instruct. So performance of a student, in other words, is the performance to a greater extent, collective performance. You cannot say that every student you have not made. In our places they say Bhimraj. Bhimraj is the colloquial conversion of the word Bhringraj. And I hope that there must be a person very wise and intelligent and learned person. Bhringraj may have his name. That's why to appreciate or even to comment on a student's performance, they usually teachers use them. We cannot make everybody the Bhringraj, right? So that is there. But in toto, overall performance of students is nothing but the reflection of the overall performance of the teachers. For that, no separate examinations is not needed to conduct. You see the outcome result of any class test, half yearly test of any class, section wise, subject wise, which textbook who is teaching, and based on that performance, without making them the object of direct evaluation and assessment. After overviewing, observing, assessing and evaluating the performance of the students, the performance of teacher can be assessed. Now I have just said that, you see, in the observable behaviors, I have tried to give in the italic form: identify, separate, convert, search, make, break, combine. A Sandhi rules it should not be italic, but it is a mistake. It should be in a common font. So all these are observable behaviors. A person is identifying another person, you can observe that among 5-6 people, that fellow has identified one person. So italic mark in italic font words are the examples of what they say observable behavior. These are also known as action verbs. Action verbs. Although verb itself is an action always, but sometimes mental actions are also there, no? That's why in pedagogy, teaching Shiksha Shastra, they have devised a further term, that action verbs, that we can see. So all these are action verbs. Identification is an action verb. While identifying, you have to put action, you have to put your finger. I said no. You cannot make gestures and postures and think about. That will not work. So that way, observable behavioral terms. And they are nothing but action verbs. At the time of testing, you use the same action verbs to frame a question. Our philosophy, you see, every institution, there are many institutions involved in testing and evaluation as far as education is concerned. All kinds of universities, they have their different departments, examination departments. Here in Mysore University, the Pariksha Bhavan is bigger than the administrative building. CBSE is there, all kinds of state boards are there. The great UGC is there, then one more organization, only people like outdated people will cite its name, Association of Indian Universities, but it has great work done in the field of testing and evaluation. Right, so many. We are youngest perhaps. NTS was started in 2006. But we have our point of view, our philosophy. We have our own principles. Based on that, we conduct our all kind of activities. So our philosophy says that every question should be based on at least one dimension of a content. The dimensional problems we are going to discuss after lunch. After lunch there will be a class, and in the last session we are going to discuss. So every question must be based on at least one dimension of a subject or topic, and every question must hold at least one action verb. If there are more, then a question is of higher level. At least minimum requirement to be called as a question is must be based on at least one dimension of any content. It should have at least one action verb, and it should test at least one skill stated in the taxonomy or instructional objectives. One skill. Identification is a skill. Making separate things separate is a skill. Joining things, making things joined is a skill. So every question, minimum requirement of question from our point of view is must based at least on one dimension of a topic or a subject. It must have at least one action verb, and it must test at least one skill stated either in taxonomical terms or in observable behavioral terms. So this is what, at the time of testing, you use the same action verbs to frame a question. Hence, it can be repeated. Again, teaching material should be evaluated with reference to the objectives stated in the syllabus document. Teacher or her teaching should be evaluated with reference to the instructional objectives stated in each lesson chapter of the text, and it can be consolidated also. And for that, let me insist that separate testing for teachers is not required. Students' performance you take. Based on that, you can gauge, they say no. You can have an idea about the performance of the teacher, because the student's performance, in other words, is the reflection of the performance of the teacher. Again, the same thing, the educational objectives stated. The purpose of this evaluation will be that educational objectives stated in the syllabus are actually, or to what extent, have been fulfilled by selecting the appropriate content from the textbook, or there is an error of judgment. Teaching, now evaluating teaching is taking place in accordance with the instructional objectives listed in the textbook teaching learning material, or there is a discrepancy or gap. This practice is essential, rather inevitable, for maintaining overall quality of the whole process, failing which may defeat the whole purpose of the course and adversely affect the achievement and performance of the student undergoing the particular course. This is what I said, that the student's performance is nothing but a reflection of teacher's performance and vice versa. But these are the caution marks. No, don't break the speed norm, because your vehicle may go out of control. But the whole exercise of textbook evaluation and teacher's evaluation should be undertaken in very specialized manner. Anybody and everybody should not come and say that, "Hey, कैसे पढ़ाते हैं? अरे तुमको क्या मालूम है कैसे पढ़ाना पड़ता है?" So it should be done in a very specialized manner. The organizations like NTS, this is our self-advertisement, and this is not. We have been doing this. And if any organization wants to get their textbooks evaluated, we are ready to do this. Of course, some charge will be levied. The organizations like NTS India has such an expertise and great track record. Even foreign books we have evaluated of successfully undertaking this exercise. Virtues of a good teacher, because that attitude part was left low. So just to see, you know very well, you have been doing all this. Know very well means what? A patience, ability to remain calm in spite of provocation. If you see, without provocation, everybody is calm. But if there is provocation and still I am calm, then I am a calm person. Fairness, treating the students equally. Compassion, caring for the misfortunes of others, kindness, being organized in inward and outward. Inward should be one word, separately written. Inward and outward sense of humor, but not more than required. Moderately dressed, etc. They say possession of affective domain skills. This is something, all these things you know very well in any document you can see, but this is perhaps our means our National Testing Service contribution to this discussion, that you're supposed to inculcate attitudes in your students. So before that you have to inculcate in yourself, because what they learn, what they see. Imitation is the best way of learning, especially in the lower, means not lower in the sense of any prestige and all that, but beginning school education or lower classes you can say. So receiving, responding, valuing, organization, characterization, these are the affective domains, the skills a teacher must try to inculcate in his or her personality. Then only you can influence your students to acquire them. The famous the anecdote is there that one mother came with his boy or girl, maybe, that Gandhiji, kindly preach him. He is very fond of sweet. All the time he wants to eat sweet only. Gandhiji said, okay, sister, today I'm busy. You come after 1 or 2 weeks. That lady went, again came. Then he said, all kind of, what is that, problems of eating more sweet, you can get infected, means of blood sugar. I don't know what, something he preached. Okay, that chapter was over. Then that woman asked her, sir, you could have done the simple things. You could have said, the first day I came by bus and train. Then he said, I was also very fond of sugar. First in this, I buy time from you. In Urdu they say mohalat. And I tried myself to control my sugar intake. Then it will work. Otherwise it will not work. Preaching, simple preaching will not work. So these are the stories of very great people. We are not that. Not that means what? We don't have anywhere in the comparison, but something we can learn and try to implement. So this is what, friends. Thank you very much.